I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmembers Huff.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Doherty.
Here.
DeLucy.
Here.
Robertson.
Here.
Van Camp.
Here.
Mayor Ware.
Here. This takes us to our citizens' request to speak.
Madam Mayor, I apologize for interrupting you, but I would like to suspend the rules to allow non-citizens the right to address the council.
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules to allow for non-residents to speak. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Doherty.
Yes.
DeLucy.
Yes.
Robertson.
Yes.
Van Camp.
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. If you are a non-resident and you would like to speak this evening, there are forms up here on the front table. Please come up and fill one out and we will add you to the list. Our first, I will remind you, you will have 5 minutes unless otherwise indicated. If you have spoken on the topic previously, you will have 3 minutes. The clerk will keep the time up here at the dais. I would ask, we have a very large crowd this evening. Please, please allow for the speakers to speak without interruption so that the council can hear them. Thank you. Our first speaker is Stacia Hassenflew, who requests to speak to the council regarding health insurance benefits. If you would please come forward, just state your name for the record, and you will have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Stacia Hassenflew, 1323 South Crane. I'm actually speaking on behalf of my mom and my dad, who is no longer with us. He's been gone 7 months. He spent 25 years with the Independence Fire Department. He gave his whole life to this city. He made sure every time that anything came up with the benefits or anything to do with the city, he worked hard to make sure that my mom would be taken care of when and if he ever was no longer with us. I don't even know how to even express this. These men and women give their lives, and their families give their lives to this city. So for you all to have to take away their benefits or even start charging them more, it's incredible. It is, these men, when you're running out of a house, they're running into it. My dad was shot at because of somebody that was crazy. My dad was spit upon and had to go and have HIV tests done. You know, the policemen give their lives for you guys so that you guys will have a home to go home to. So I really do believe that you cannot raise the rates on their insurance, especially when you go from a 2 income to a 1 income. It's very hard. You all need to be put in this spot and realize that these people have given, not just the men and the women of the fire department, the police department, the Independence Power and Light, we give our families. I cannot tell you how many holidays that my dad was not home, that I went to the fire station and I spent my Christmas and my New Year's and my Easter at the holidays. You guys are asking for everybody to chip in more money. And that's just not right when we've done nothing but give our families, our time, our holidays. How many of you all can say that you've given up all those times when you're home? These men and women are out here protecting you, and our families are giving up our holidays. So I just ask, and especially with my mom was diagnosed back in August with Parkinson's while my dad was in the hospital fighting for his life. This is a brotherhood I could never ask for. When my dad passed away, these men stepped up and helped us with the funeral. They stood out in the cold and carried his casket. I could never ask for anything, and they come and check on us and make sure that we're okay. So I'm fighting for them because this is something that they deserve. They don't ask for anything else, but they do expect to be treated fairly. And I think asking to raise the rates or even offer an HSAs are not that good. I have one where I currently work at, and it's not worth it, and I'm not renewing mine. It is just, they deserve to be treated fairly, whether they're still on their shifts. Yeah, they may work 1 out of every 3 days, but they're willing, they give everything to you guys and to this city. And even when they're not on duty, if they see somebody, my dad would go and help somebody. And I know these men do too, and these women. So you guys, as you guys are running out of your home, they're running into it to keep you safe and make sure your home does not burn down. Or you have electricity in the worst storms. So take care of our retirees and also take care of the men and women who are actually doing things for you now. They don't ask for much, but they love what they do. I can honestly say I've never met a fireman or a policeman who does not love their job. And if you talk to the retirees, they all have, even like my dad had little trinkets of toys of firemen, Lego things, because they love their jobs and they love what they do. And it is up to us as the city to make sure that they are still taken care of and their spouses are still taken care of when they're no longer here. My dad fought for over 25 years to make sure that my mom would be taken care of when he was no longer with us. So I'm speaking from my heart that you guys don't raise the rates and you take care of the people who take care of your city. Because if you don't have them, you don't have anything. And you also have to take care of the families, because those families are going to make sure that their husbands and their wives get up and come to work every day. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Keith Query, who requests to speak to the council regarding Staywell. Keith?
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Keith Query. I live at 1516 North Charlton Road, Independence, Missouri. To clarify, I have never been an employee of the city. I have never been a participant of Staywell, but I helped build it, and I hate to see it torn down. The question tonight is the same as it's been year after year that this issue has been in front of you and me speaking to you many times. Does the city have the ability to fund Staywell? Plain and simple, not complicated. Does the city have the financial ability to fund Staywell? I can recall one instance many years ago. I think it was under when Ron Stewart was the mayor. We had argued over Staywell and some premium increases and coverage cuts for weeks. And the mayor, in frustration, I think, just made the side comment of, I wish there was a third party who could come in and decide this for us. I thought about that. The next council meeting, I came back and says, Mr. Mayor, I agree with you. I think we should have a third party come in and decide this question. And be sure that we could pick someone who had no bias, for or against either side. I suggested that we pick the state auditor of the state of Missouri. The mayor agreed. The council agreed. The state auditor come in and audited the city's books in regard to Staywell, and to determine, does the city have the ability to fund Staywell? After the audit, the city's report said yes. That the crisis of not being able to fund Staywell was created by reappointment of funds. My question is that possible today? The same situation. My opinion, due diligence of the council, you should repeat that procedure and have the state auditor of the state of Missouri come in and audit the city's books. The question on the two issues, the pre-65 and the post-65, are very simple. Pre-65 is nothing more than cost sharing, reappropriation of cost from the city to the employees. Post-65 is new to me. I've never seen the city or a council propose such a thing before. It's almost draconian. This time in our lives, in this situation, in this country, and the severity of cost increases in medical coverage is critical. Court case in front of the Supreme Court, pretty quick probably. 20-some Republican attorney generals across the country has filed suit to eliminate Obamacare, pre-existing conditions. If that happens, it's unknown what happens in the future. It's unknown what the insurance companies will do. The insurance companies that sell the advantage plans, what will they do? So does the post-65 people possibly get in that situation where there's no protection on pre-existing conditions? I don't know. I don't think anybody can answer that question. But if they stay in the stay-well plan, a group plan, that's controlled by the group. Nobody can be eliminated from a group plan, so pre-existing conditions is not a question. I think you need to think long and hard on this issue. It comes down to the simple question, does the city have the ability to fund stay well? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Dr. Dale Hurl, who wishes to speak to the council regarding the budget amendments. Dr. Hurl.
Good evening. My name is Dale Hurl. I reside at 18013 East 29th Terrace Court South here in Independence. Madam Mayor, City Council members, thank you for allowing me to address you this evening regarding an issue that will have a significant negative impact on the Independence School District. Within your items for consideration tonight are two separate budget amendments that have been proposed. The first item that I want to address is labeled Budget Amendment Number 10. This amendment contemplates charging the independent school districts for inspections done on all of our kitchens. The fiscal note included in the amendment is in excess of $30,000. It has been the past practice of the city to not charge the district for inspections, just as it has been the past practice for the school district not to charge the city for the use of any of our facilities. The independent school district already pays an annual fee for the city for health permits for all of our locations, as well as food handlers permits for all of our employees that work in our kitchens. I'm not suggesting that the independent school district will start charging the city to use our facilities, as I don't believe in operating that way. What I do believe is that it is in the best interest of both parties, the city and the school district, to work together to save costs when possible. The second item I'd like to address is titled Budget Amendment Number 9. This amendment rescinds Ordinance 18382, which was enacted in December of 2014. This ordinance created the rate schedule EDU1, which effectively reduced the district's utility rate by 8% at that time. While the school district was very thankful for this effort to make our rates more in line to what other school districts across Missouri pay per kilowatt hour, I believe it is important that each of you have an accurate understanding of what our rates were prior to this change. We contacted school districts throughout the state to determine the ISD's cost per kilowatt hour at that time in comparison to other Missouri school districts. The ISD was the highest per kilowatt hour charged school district of any state, or any school district in the state. The rate the ISD paid at that time was 47.5% higher than even the next closest school district in the state of Missouri. I'm going to repeat that, 47.5% higher. The Rawlins School District, whose electric supplier is similar to IP&L, as it is a municipally owned electric company, was paying 88.9% less than what Independence was per kilowatt hour. Even after the rate decrease, which we were very thankful for, our utility rates were still 28.8% higher than any other school district in the state that responded to our request for information. To put this in perspective, just using the rates that the next closest school district enjoyed would have saved the school district over $1 million annually. You can imagine my surprise when I learned that the City Council was contemplating a rate increase to the ISD that by your own admission will cost the school districts within the IP&L boundaries nearly $330,000 annually. While I understand the council approved a 2% reduction in rates in November and another decrease of 4% that goes in effect August 1st, this would still be a net increase for the school district. This is especially concerning when I also noticed that budget number 7 within your packet would lower the electrical rates the city currently pays to IP&L by $666,665. You are considering raising the rates on the children of the community by over $330,000, while at the same time lowering the rates that you as a city pay to IP&L for electric service by $666,000. Much like your budget, the ISD's fiscal budget year runs from July 1 to June 30th and is nearing completion. I only learned of these potential rate increases in early June. At this juncture in our budget process, there's nowhere to take these expenses out other than classroom supplies, classroom technology, and field trips. These increases to our budget are the equivalent of cutting 6 to 7 teachers, which is impossible at this time as contracts have already been issued for the next school year. The timing of this decision could not have occurred at any worse time. I stand before you asking not to cut your own expenses while at the same time raising additional revenue through a utility rate increase and charging of kitchen inspections to the school districts. You are attempting to balance the budget at a time that is very difficult for the school district at this time of the year. I am respectfully requesting that you vote no on budget amendments number 9 and number 10. Thank you, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mark Velder, who requests to speak to the council regarding discrimination against employees. Mr. Velder, you will have 3 minutes.
A very famous man once said that a good man is always reasonable. And so what I want to do here, since this is my 4th time talking to you people about the flag, we've got it taken down from the flag poles, and it was a 5-2 vote not to put somebody's personal flag up there. So I'm asking the question tonight, who owns the city building? Is it the citizens or is it this panel up here? Do you own the building, and can you put your personal flag outside of the window? We just did the Pledge of Allegiance, which says, I pledge allegiance to the flag. The is a definite article. That is my flag, not the LGBT flag. Now, we've been through this before, and I want to know, if I put my rebel flag up, and I work at the City of Independence, if I put this flag up tomorrow, I'll be fired. Guys have been told to take pictures out of their lunch boxes or their tool boxes because of a girl with the bikini on it because it was offensive. And yet we've got a flag outside of the window right up here. That gives me a sense of discrimination. Someone's not for equal rights. It's a violation. Somebody, to me, with what I'm hearing here, there's money problems in this city. And I think you guys need to focus not on special interest groups, but you need to focus on these people right here and the employees of the city. All right, having that flag, I don't understand. Look, the real rebel isn't me. It's whoever keeps putting that flag up. Do you guys own the building, or do the citizens of Independence own the building? That flag does not represent me. I keep hearing that it's for everybody. It does not. That represents people who have surgically removed part of their anatomy because they don't know what kind of bathroom to go to. That is not me. I am normal. I'm normal, okay? So I don't want to have that represent me, and I'm asking, can we get that flag down, or just put mine up? I really, if you'll just put this one up, I would love to see this one tomorrow morning when I come to work, okay?
You have
Now,
1 minute.
1 minute. We just celebrated the 75th anniversary of D-Day, men in their 90s who gave their life for this country. They would not give their life for this council with that flag, I guarantee you. I'll just end by saying this, and there's a lot more I would like to say. You guys were called to be examples. I heard about a sacred trust tonight. Who is our example that would put out their own flag? If I can't do it, why can you do it? I'll just say this. The Bible says, he that is a friend of the world is an enemy of God. You're a friend of LGBT, you're an enemy of the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Henry Carner, who wishes to speak on post-65 health care. Hello, Mr. Carner, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Council. Henry Carner, 3731 South Milton Drive. I am here to report that the post-65 retirees met in mass on June 10th to hear the prospect of talking with the city to find a just solution to the city's efforts to drop us from our earned and promised health care subsidized by the city, the same as current employees. We understand the proposed talks the talks presented to us would be predicated on the city funding our current health care plan until mutual agreement could be reached. We understood this committee approach was an alternative to conflict. After deliberations, with some skeptics voicing their concerns, we voted to try the talks first. Resolution 19760 recognizes the State-Well Committee as voting members and 3 retirees as non-voting members. We're hopeful to the makeup of this committee protects the implied contract with the post-65 cohort that is the only cohort of the city subsidized health care recipients not funded in the budget ordinance before you. I purely want to set the record straight to protect the theory we may have to rely on later. We're hoping the Special Health Care Insurance Review Committee protects us to resemble the current employees' health care and premium split. The health care we currently have is protected by this policy and procedures as well as other factors. For the record, the post-65 cohort, whose interests are specifically at stake in this budget, has not as a class met and duly elected a post-65 representative. This is by no means a reflection on anyone on this Special Health Care Committee, but it's important at this time to make the distinction. I assert that no one has the criteria of agency to waive the post-65 as a class rights to the same health care as current employees, nor does anyone have the right to agree or on our behalf to change or bridge our personnel policies and protections without post-65 receiving notice, being able to make comment, and ratifying whatever the product is. The untested assumption is that the members of the special committee are planning to do the best they can for the city and post-65. However, the budget being adopted tonight by ordinance without an amendment to fund 65 until mutual agreement can be had, in its place is a committee to address said health care will be created by a resolution, which is subordinate to an ordinance. We therefore have weak language in resolution form that says funding post-65 care past December 31st, emphasis may be proposed to the City Council, is of concern to many of us. We post-65 do not want to lose our level of health care and premium split currently enjoyed by all pre-65 retirees and current retirees. I do not need to elaborate the state of affairs that will exist in the event the results of this committee does not protect post-65 retirees. With all being said, we have the earnest hope and extend our faith that the committee will not injure post-65 as a class in the final result of their efforts, and that we can move on in harmony and accord, as was the landscape before this budget was proposed.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kirk Stobart, who wishes to speak on the proposed budget and retiree committee resolution. Mr. Stobart.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, my name is Kirk Stobart. I'm president of the Professional Firefighters of Independence, Local 781. I've been up here a few times over the last few weeks talking about the health care. I don't really have a whole lot prepared tonight, so I'm not going to take up a lot of time. You've already heard my concerns, so I'm not going to keep repeating them, but I just want to kind of summarize where we're at right now and make sure I'm clear that basically all of the proposed changes to health care that was originally presented are either going to be removed from the budget or put on hold until we have a chance to look at everything. So just make sure that's clear, that everybody understands where we're at. My understanding is also you have a proposed resolution to form a committee with the retirees. I think this is extremely important, and I hope that you all support that resolution. One of the things that has been a problem from the very beginning of this process is that we have not had time to look at this. I've said this before, but there are a lot of questions. I mean, I've been looking at this stuff for a month, and I still have questions of how this is going to affect our plan. You had the study session last week. I know there was a question that popped up there by Councilmember DeLucci. The answer is yes. You remove the 65 and older retirees, our plan is going to suffer by $800,000 next year. And it will be worse the following year, and it'll be worse the following year. One of the questions that has not been, that I've asked, that still hasn't been answered, what we looked at last week were projections by Lockton. And I understand Lockton is a great company. They do fantastic work, but they have projections. And if you look at all their history of their projections every year, I'm sure they have projected and told us that we're going to have an increase in health care every single year. Although we haven't had a premium increase in 5 years. So those are projections. What I want to know is the history of the retirees and what their cost and what their income and the cost has been historically. My understanding is they actually have helped fund our plan. Maybe not every year, but probably a majority of those years they have. That's what I want to look at. I think that will help us, looking at the history, will help us make decisions down the road. One last thing I want to say too is, once again, I say it every week, I want to keep saying it, that 781, the Coalition of Bargaining Agents support our retirees in whatever position they take. I do believe that this committee that's going to be formed I think they're going to do some good work. One of the things that we got to look at is, what has been proposed is that the city just does nothing. One of the things that has to be considered going forward is that the city pays something. I mean, these people have worked for it. That's what they've committed to. We've talked about that. You've heard their concerns. They're owed that much. So that's about it. I appreciate your support on that resolution. This is something that should have been done from the very beginning. That we have had input. I think this is going to hopefully put everything on hold, allow us that time to have the input, do the research, and properly make a decision going down the road. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Robert Sorensen, who wishes to speak on proposed city budget in regards to 65 and older health care. Mr. Sorensen, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'll have to talk fast. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to talk this evening. I'm here to talk in regards to the resolution that's been kind of dropped on us that I've just kind of found out about in the last day or two. There's no way that resolution, I could ever support that resolution if it's not going to contain that the retirees are going to be continued under the present percentage by the city, that it's a subsidized health care. If it's not a subsidized health care, there's no way anybody could support that. That's what we were promised, and that's what we were guaranteed. In 2009, 2018, the retirees that were pre-2009, this council and council back in 2009 agreed that their rate should stay at 83%. I met with the city manager on 2 occasions this year. He both times told me, and there was a council member there and a couple other people, that the 65-year-old and over retirees are what supplement this health care. They're the ones that make the health care money, and it wouldn't be solvent without it, and the retirees' health care would not be touched. As you can see, those were not true statements. This benefit to me is not much different than your Social Security checks, those of you that get them like me, and your Medicare, for those of you that get them like me. I pay for those every time I got paid by the City of Independence. There was money taken out for Social Security. There was money taken out for Medicare. I continue to work a part-time job, and they are continuing to be taken out. I don't believe the federal government at any time is going to stop my Social Security check, nor stop my Medicare check, because I paid for those. And I paid for this health care that I was promised by the city, verbally, in writing. I cannot believe that the people sitting at this council will not respect the fact that every person I've been able to talk to that's still alive, and some who have just a widow, everyone that sat in the chairs that you're sitting in said this was a promised benefit to retirees. At no time has any council since 1973, when I started with the city, has retirees' benefits been attacked. This is so wrong. And for you to disrespect the people that sat in those chairs before you that gave us that promise, it's hard for me to even comprehend that that could happen.
You have 1 minute.
I'm sure. If this resolution before you today is not filled with the intent of keeping the subsidized health insurance, if you do not believe that you can put that in that resolution, then I'm asking that the council here, somebody, can stand up and make a motion to direct the city manager to amend the city proposed budget for the 2019-2020 year to remove the changes to the employee retiree stay well health care plan, excluding the city's manager's recommendation for the 8% premium increase. I would hope that somebody can make that motion, that there can be a second, that you can vote and tell all these people that are here how you feel and how you feel about their promises, and tell them to their face by your vote, and have the city manager remove this. This city is not bankrupt. It can be paid for, and this needs to be taken out. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Sandra Sheese, who wishes to speak on changes to stay well affecting most vulnerable.
Council members, Mayor, thank you for allowing me to speak. Sandy Sheese, 822 West Maple Avenue, Independence, Missouri, 64050. I actually was supposed to stand to the right of retired Police Chief Fred Mills. However, he had a death in the family, and my thoughts and prayers go out to him, and I am here speaking to you. I want to start out by saying I really did not think that I would be before you again. Having retired as fire chief 5 years ago, I believe that I would move on to my next career working with FEMA, still helping people, still working with the most vulnerable, and yet here I am. I'm speaking on behalf of many of the retired directors and administrators for the City of Independence, and the letter that you have before you, I will read now. Mayor and council members, we submit this letter to you as former administrators of the City of Independence. Our careers overlapped 5 decades with the city. We were directors and managers of the city's departments, including police, fire, community development, finance, human resources, information technology, law, power and light, and the city manager's office. The city council presently finds itself in the position of balancing the budget during a time when the general fund revenues are not meeting the levels necessary to pay for the city services and programs at the desired level. As a group, we face such circumstances every year. The city manager recently stated in an interview with local media that there were no more rabbits to be pulled out of the hat in order to balance the city's budget. We never balance the city's budget by pulling a rabbit out of the hat or any other sleight of hand. We were hired to solve such problems, collectively as a group and working with the elected city leadership, city administration, unrepresented city employees, and the labor unions. We found solutions to those problems, and it was never easy. On many occasions, we asked for and received concessions from our employees. Many sacrifices were made, but the long-term well-being of those who serve the city was never threatened as it is now. The concessions and compromises of the employees accepted protected their long-term benefits, including participation in the city's medical insurance program as a retiree, a benefit that they were promised when they were hired and when they retired. The promise of retiree health insurance still exists in the city's policies and procedures. When those employees retired, they made irreversible financial and life decisions required by the city to be eligible to participate in the city's health insurance program. The current proposal to balance the city's budget on the backs of such a small, vulnerable group is abhorrent. We are extremely concerned regarding how this process and its ill-conceived resolutions has evolved. The city's Stay Well Committee was not consulted regarding these changes. The city did not solicit competitive health insurance proposals, but instead has negotiated with a single firm. The employees and retirees have been told that the city is negotiating a Medicare supplemental plan, and the city council has received such documents. What is proposed is not a Medicare supplemental plan. Retirees have not received even a courtesy notification from the city regarding the proposed changes. Instead, they've had to learn about the topic through their other sources, including the news media. Make no mistakes, all retirees pay to participate in the city's health insurance program. Now the city manager is proposing to discriminate by eliminating some of the retirees from Stay Well, while allowing other retirees to remain on the Stay Well health insurance plan with their premiums subsidized by the city. As a group, we know that we and the city owe much to our former employees, including many that are currently at risk because of the city manager's proposed budget. We do not believe that you fully understand the impact that this decision will have on their lives. It is very easy to look at figures on paper, but we have visited with them face to face, and they are frightened for their health and for their financial well-being, and they are angered by this betrayal. We have experienced the negative impacts on the community when the city loses our citizens' trust. We understand how long it takes to restore public confidence. We believe that even when the public is fully informed regarding these circumstances, and you can be assured that they will be informed, you as our elected officials will be held accountable for those actions. We appeal to you to amend the city manager's proposed budget and direct the city manager to maintain the city's current Stay Well health insurance program. We are confident that the solution to the current budget issues, including modification of the Stay Well plan, can be found in the coming months, and we are committed to assist in doing so. This statement was endorsed by the following people: Fred Mills, Police Chief; myself, Retired Fire Chief; Bruce Hall, Community Development Director; Don Davenport, Technology Services Director; Alan Garner, City Council; Deborah Craig, Human Resources Director; Calvin Holst, Budget Manager; Larry Kaufman, Assistant City Manager; John Neer, Technology Service Director; Leon Daggett, Independence Power and Light Director. You have a copy of this before you. There'll be copies left for the media. I want to make one more statement. 41 years I have spent protecting the most vulnerable. I am concerned about this. I do not like to public speak. I did not want to be here. I feel like that this is an important thing. I have to stand up and make a statement. I do not agree with this. Please consider not doing this. Thank you.
Christina, did anybody else sign up to speak? Okay. Our final speaker is Chris Roars, who wishes to speak on Staywell Healthcare budget items. Mr. Roars, you will have 3 minutes. No, you start when you get up here, yeah.
Good evening, I'm Chris Roars, retired firefighter for the city, live here in Independence at 3004 South Seminole Drive. I am also the co-chair on the Staywell Healthcare Committee. I am also a member of the Loggers Retirees Chapter Number 1, and I am the one that they have voted to represent them in the matters of their health care with Staywell. We don't, excuse me, we don't have a venue or a route like the unions do to negotiate a bargain. We're private citizens now. We're here because, only because you allowed us to be heard, and we appreciate that. That doesn't make us any less important or any less necessary to have to consider what we're needing, what we're asking for. Tonight there's resolution number 19760, which authorizes a special health insurance review committee. That committee, their job, generally speaking, you've got the resolution to read, is to come up with a plan that helps us find a mutually agreed upon solution to financial problems, whether real or perceived, benefit problems, as compared to what came to us a few months ago in the Blue KC and compared to what we have now and what may be out there and available in the market. This committee will be tasked to look at all areas, all options, and consider this until we can come to a solution. I guess my point for being here right now is to ask for your support on this resolution that puts us in that venue and starts the process that should have started a few months ago when city administrators went out to begin this process without us, without the Staywell group, and without the retirees. So this resolution puts us back on a starting point, level playing field, and ready to start again. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you to all who came and spoke this evening. This takes us to our consent agenda. Mayor Pro Tem.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the reports and recommendations of the city manager.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any items any council member wishes pulled for separate consideration? Councilmember DeLucy?
19760.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
19759.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the consent agenda minus Resolution 19760 and Resolution 19759?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins, Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Councilmember DeLucy, 19760. Mr. City Manager, this is the resolution authorizing the Special Health Insurance Review Committee that we've just heard about. Would you mind just giving a brief overview of this resolution and before we the council votes on this?
The resolution before the council is the product of some very deliberate and important work between the city manager's office and representatives from the Staywell Health and Wellness Advisory Committee. Over the course of the past 45 days since we submitted the budget, we've heard a tremendous amount of important input from all impacted active pre-65 and Medicare eligible retirees. So we have worked to address as many of those concerns. This one specifically would work to address the concerns that have been brought forward by the Medicare eligible retirees. The committee would consist of 3 representatives identified by the Staywell Committee, 3 representatives identified by the city manager's office, and then the Stay-Well Committee would appoint 3 retirees to serve as ex officio members, primarily to help provide input and insight and analysis of different potential options out there. This in no way finally decides this issue. It gives us until October the 1st, though, to review different opportunities and options before coming back to the City Council for final consideration of that. The budget, because our Stay-Well plan begins on January 1st, does have funding in place for all of our Medicare-eligible retirees through December 31st. So there is no change, irregardless of the action the council takes tonight. The next time we would revisit this issue in this arena would be October the 15th, when the work of that committee would be reported to the council, at which time we would need to make final determinations. So I think that provides a summary of the work of this committee. As Mr. Roars has said a number of times speaking over the past few weeks, there is a tremendous amount of work to do within a short period of time, but I have every confidence that this committee is going to roll up its sleeves and do that important work and provide meaningful input back to our office, and then eventually a recommendation to the council.
Thank you. Councilmember?
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I believe that it was not just the Stay-Well, but it also retirees that, like lawyers and human resource directors, experts in the field have worked on this resolution. I've looked at it quite a bit, and I just have one little amendment. Surprise, surprise. I would appreciate, just so everybody's very clear, under Section 2, it's number 1 on the second to last line. It's 1, transition eligible plan members. If we could insert the words, possible transition of eligible plan members. Because as I understand it, nothing is in stone yet. The reason we're doing this is to give people the opportunity to look at all the options. And one of the options may be staying with Stay-Well, but another option may be a possible transition off Stay-Well. And the words, I mean, I know that's what the committee, that this ad hoc group of people meant, but that word, I would really appreciate if I could have a second on possible transition.
I'm sorry, Councilmember, would you say again, tell me the
Section 2
Okay.
would, the last sentence, it is anticipated that the work of this committee will generally result in the following recommendations. 1, possible transition of eligible plan members from the city's current Stay-Well plan. 2, identify available Medicare plans and enrollment options.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to amend, Resolution 19760 to add the word possible transition to Section 2. Is there any discussion? Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the amendment?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Motion passes. Councilmember DeLucy,
I move approval of 19760.
as amended.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. So given the open comments that we had, there seemed to be a conversation with Mr. Carner and then also with Mr. Roars. So with the formation of this committee, we will be working, the city manager's office will be working with this formation of this committee to help come out with a resolution. Is that my understanding, is what I'm hearing here?
The intent, yes, so the intent of the committee, given those 6 voting members and 3 ex officios, is to bring forward a recommendation that would address the budgetary impact that we're facing, and to make that recommendation to our office by October the 1st and present it to the council no later than October 15th.
So this will be the group, this will be the committee that will help guide and direct and give guidance to you and us as a city.
This is the group.
Okay, fair enough, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Resolution passes. Councilman Van Camp, 19759.
Mayor and City Council, in the last few weeks, I've been contacted by scores of my constituents who are upset about the recent assessment from Jackson County. I know that many of you have also been contacted by calls regarding the same. I proposed this resolution in order to express my deep dissatisfaction with the assessments and my strong hope the county will come to its senses and review these outrageous assessments. I also encourage our citizens to fight back. There is a formal process for this, and this process has windows of opportunity, so don't go letting these by. The deadline for requesting an informal review is June 24th. The deadline for filing a board equalization appeal is July 8th. The deadline for filing a state tax commission appeal is September 30th. Please do this and tell them, your representatives from the county, what it is that's going to destroy our tax base here. It's just horrible, the things that have come as 175% in some instances. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to approve 19759.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Resolution passes. This takes us to our public hearings this evening. Our first public hearing is for the application by Victor Arolia requesting rezoning from R12 two-family residential to C2 general commercial for the property located at 1026 East 23rd Street South. This is new information only. Mr. Scannell.
Yes, good evening. My name is Tom Scannell. I'm the Community Development Director. There's no new information to report other than what is in your packet as this case was heard before the Planning Commission.
Okay, are there any comments or questions from the council? Okay, this public hearing is closed. Our next public hearing is for the oh, I'm sorry. We'll go ahead and read the bill now. Go ahead.
Bill number 19032, an ordinance amending the zoning district map as to a tract of land located at 1026 East 23rd Street from District R12 two-family residential to District C2 general commercial in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Bill passes. Our next public hearing is for the application by Wilson Homes and Construction Incorporated requesting a rezoning from R6 single-family residential, R18 PUD moderate density residential planned unit development, and C2 general commercial to R6 single-family residential and C3 service commercial for the property located at 15804 East Cogan Lane and 15803 East US 24 Highway. Is this new information only? Is this new information
Yes.
only? Okay, it was not on the agenda, sorry. Mr. Scannell.
Yes, there's, Mayor and members of the council, there's no new information to report on this case as it was heard by the Planning Commission.
Are there any comments or questions from the council? Public hearing is closed. Madam City Clerk, will you please read the bill?
Bill number 19033, an ordinance amending the zoning district map as to tracts of ground located at 15804 East Cogan Lane and 15803 East US 24 Highway from District R6 single-family residential, District R18 PUD moderate density residential planned unit development, and District C2 general commercial to District R6 single-family residential, and District C3 service commercial in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri. Second and final reading.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Weir.
Yes. Bill passes. Thank you. Okay, we only have one second reading tonight, which is the adoption of the budget. The council has received 12 proposed amendments by the same manager since the first reading of the budget. So we will need a motion to amend bill number 19035 to include amendments 1 through 12. That will need a first and a second and be voted on by the council. And then if council members wish to pull any one or more of those amendments for separate consideration, then we can do that after that is first and seconded, just as we would with the consent agenda. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we will need a motion to amend Bill 19035 to include amendments 1 through 12.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Would any council member like to pull any amendments for separate consideration?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
amendments 8, 9, and 10.
Any others? Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
hold just 1 second, please. I'm
Yes.
going through mine. I'll go along with the councilwoman.
8, 9, and 10?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, will you please call the roll on the motion to amend Bill 19035 minus amendments 8, 9, and 10?
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Okay. Mr. City Manager, Budget Amendment 8 is to restore funding for the Assistant City Clerk position. Would you like to speak to this?
The council recently named Ms. Behrens as the city clerk. She was previously serving as the assistant city clerk. The budget we submitted eliminated funding for that position. This amendment would restore funding for that position.
Okay. Councilmember DeLucy?
We can't afford it, and no offense, Becky will do a great job all by herself. I'm sure if she has problems, we would have backup available. So I am going to vote against budget amendment number 8.
Would you like to make a motion?
I move approval of budget amendment number 8.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilman.
I concur with the councilwoman's statements. Also, I would go one step further, that we've had a brief discussion on what some of the backup plan could be with if this position does not move forward. So I feel comfortable with the coverage that could be here without the additional assistant city clerk. So I too will be voting no on this and beginning to tighten our belts just a little bit more tight.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll on budget amendment number 8.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
No.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Robertson,
No.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Amendment 8 passes. Amendment 9, Mr. City Manager is rescinding ordinance 18382, which is, I believe, what Dr. Hurl was here speaking earlier about. Can you please speak to the decision to include this amendment and the impact to the budget?
As the mayor said, this amendment is, which our superintendent was here to speak on tonight, this amendment would eliminate ordinance 18382 that was passed by this council in 2014 that gave an 8% reduction to the independent school district for their electric utility rates. The estimated fiscal impact of this would be an additional $300,000 of income to the Independence Power and Light Fund and $27,240 to the general fund.
Mr. City Manager, this was not included in your original proposed budget. Can you let us know why this was later included.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you for that opportunity to clarify. When we presented our budget, of course, we've had a number of conversations since then, specifically around health insurance, with our decision to roll back the original recommendations for our active and pre-65 employees and contemplating additional changes for our Medicare eligible retirees. Our state constitution does require a balanced budget, so the fiscal impact of those insurance changes necessitated additional modifications to the budget. A number of those were taken care of with the amendments that the council passed just a moment ago, but this was one of the balancing mechanisms that was included in there as well.
Okay. Councilmember DeLucy?
And so we need to do this to balance the budget? Or we
That
don't
was-
need to do this?
We would, this would help balance the budget. If we don't do that, my staff and I will need to go in specifically to the general fund, would be the primary area of focus.
The 27,000?
Correct.
And meanwhile, the school is in the middle of their budget, and they're submitting it in 2 weeks. And I'm not willing to do anything at this point to upset that apple cart. Perhaps in the future, we could look at not giving that 4% reduction that's supposed to happen in August. But at this point, I think it's simply too late. And I think it's not a good idea, and it's a surprise. So I am not going to support budget amendment number 9. And I'd be willing to give up my car allowance, Mr. City Manager. I think that's $500 a month to each council member, right?
In that vicinity.
That's over $27,000, right? It's $500 per council person, so that would be over the $27,000 lost to the general fund if we do not approve this, correct?
Correct.
I am not going to support budget amendment number 9.
Mr. City Manager, the impact of this would be the school district was granted an 8% reduction in 2014. This would increase that to a 14% reduction because they will, as every citizen and independents and business and independents, get an additional 6% reduction.
Presently, we have the 8% that was adopted in 14. We have the 2% that went into effect in November, and the additional 4% goes into effect August 1st, so the net impact was 14%.
So if we do approve this budget amendment, their reduction from 2014, in which there has been no rate increases, would go from 8% to 6%.
Correct.
Okay. The timing, as Dr. Hurl said, is problematic for them. Would it be possible for us to amend this amendment to implement it at some later date to allow for the school district to do some more preparation?
I would be supportive of that.
Okay. I would, in that case, entertain a motion to amend Amendment 9 to implement rescind this ordinance by January 1st.
So approved. Made.
It's been moved. Is there a second? Okay.
Second.
Second.
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded to provide the school district with some time for budget preparation to make this effective January 1st, 2020. Is there any discussion?
Mr. City Manager, if we decide next week not to give them the additional 4%, is that possible?
If you
We're not locked into giving them that 4% because it hasn't taken effect yet, right?
we would need to take action from the council. As it's approved right now, that's an across-the-board for 4% for all customer and customer classes.
Right.
So it needs some specific direction to suspend that. But yes, the council would have the prerogative to do so.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, I will not be supporting your amendment, and I will not be supporting the amendment number 9 by the passage of amendment number 8, adding the assistant city clerk at a tune of $64,900, and with the amendment number 9 putting the $300,000 back in onto the burden of the school district, which would only net the city $27,000. And then if we approve budget amendment number 10, which is also adding $30,000 to the general fund, which is charging the school district with food inspections, we would have had more than adequate funding to not even have to make these motions or amendments 9 and 10 if we would have not approved budget number 8. So with that, I will be voting no on your amendment, and also budget amendment number 9, and also budget amendment number 10 as we move forward to that. I don't believe we should be adding positions and then asking to put a burden back on the school district.
Okay. Councilman?
Thanks. I was going to say what John said, that by not passing budget amendment 8, we've saved $64,009 to the general fund. These two amendments to the general fund would not even add up to $64,000. So if we don't pass these, it's not going to change the general fund budget at this point. My main concern is that within another month or so, we're going to get the rate study, we're going to get the new categories. The school district, as well as a lot of other businesses, are going to be put into different rate structure and rate categories. That's going to change everything. And here we're trying to micromanage right now when we really need to be looking at the overall picture when the rate study comes out in another month. And then things are going to fall out, and the recommendations are going to come to us from the Burns and Mack study. So I would rather put all of this off until we have the Burns and Mack study, and then consider, yeah, maybe we need to not give them the 4%, but that's, in my opinion, foolish anyway, because we're going to see a city council 4 to 5 years hence have to raise fees 10 to 14% because of us lowering fees now, as well as the shortfall that's going to occur. So I would rather put all of this off, both 9 and 10, until we have that rate study out from Burns and Mack. And I believe City Manager, we're going to get that rate study end of July or August?
That's correct.
End of July.
Right.
Okay. So it's not far off.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor, so Madam City Clerk, if you would please call the roll on the motion to amend budget amendment number 9.
Councilmembers Huff,
No.
Perkins,
No.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Robertson,
No.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes, motion fails. Councilmember DeLucy, budget amendment number 9.
Even though I'm not going to support it, I move approval of budget amendment number 9.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
No.
Perkins,
No.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Robertson,
No.
Van Camp,
No.
Mayor Ware.
Yes, budget amendment 9 fails. Budget amendment number 10, Mr. City Manager, this is the one that we heard about that deals with the food inspections. Again, if you would if you would just give an explanation about, as we continue to fund the needs in the budget, why this one was added.
Again, as the final budget shakes out, we do have to balance our budget. That's a requirement of the state constitution and the city charter. So we're looking at, again, at areas where we've either historically undercharged or have provided great reductions in services. This is one of those. Restaurants, food establishments in the city all pay for environmental health inspection some time ago, and I can't determine quite when, but that practice was suspended for the school district. This would seek to reinstate that on par with our food establishments across the community.
Okay. Councilmember DeLucy.
I move approval of budget amendment number 10, even though I'm not in support.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
No.
Perkins,
No.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
No.
Robertson,
No.
Van Camp,
No.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Budget Amendment 10 fails. This brings us to ordinance number 19035. Madam City Clerk, will you please read the bill as amended?
Bill number 19035, an ordinance adopting the annual operating and capital budgets of the City of Independence, Missouri for the fiscal year July 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2020, estimating the revenues for said fiscal year, appropriating sums for the purposes stated in said budget, establishing operating transfers, designating fund balance allocations, establishing the authorized table of organization, and designating those who may make a requisition for encumbrances against appropriations. Second and final reading.
Is there any further discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Ordinance passes. This takes us to our first readings this evening, and we do have one emergency that will receive 2 readings this evening, and we'll need 5 votes to pass. Madam City Clerk.
Bill number 19036, an agreement between the city and the Missouri Department of Transportation allowing the city to attach illuminated street signs to state-owned traffic signals at the intersections of 23rd Street and Noland Road, I-70 and Noland Road, and 40 Highway and Noland Road. Bill number 19037, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a grant in the amount of $189,800 from the Missouri Department of Transportation for reimbursement of overtime for the police department for a crash investigation software license, LET-SAC conference fees, and hazardous moving violations enforcement from October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2020, authorizing future change orders, extensions, amendments, or addendums for additional funding for the same project and making the necessary appropriations. Bill number 19038, an ordinance authorizing acceptance of a grant in the amount of $340,200 from the Missouri Department of Transportation for reimbursement of overtime for the police department for impaired driving enforcement and youth alcohol liquor compliance checks from October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2020, authorizing future change orders and/or time extensions for the same project and making the necessary appropriations. Bill number 19039, an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to execute property leases according to the terms of the attached lease. This next bill will receive 2 readings. Bill number 19506, an ordinance approving the final plat of Cogan Place, replat B, located at 15804 East Cogan Lane and 15803 East US 24 Highway in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri, and declaring an emergency. Bill number 19506, an ordinance approving the final plat of Cogan Place, replat B, located at 15804 East Cogan Lane and 15803 East US 24 Highway in Independence, Jackson County, Missouri, and declaring an emergency.
Is there any discussion on this bill? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Councilmembers Huff,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
DeLucy,
Yes.
Robertson,
Yes.
Van Camp,
Yes.
Mayor Ware.
Yes. Ordinance passes. This takes us to council member comments. I'll start on my left with Councilmember Van Camp.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Jackson County assessments, please contact your Jackson County representatives. And I want to commend the people going forward, the Stay Well and city manager, for bringing them together. Thank you.
Councilman Robertson.
No comments tonight, thanks.
Councilmember DeLucy.
Nothing, thank you.
Councilman Huff.
Nothing this evening.
Councilman Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know Chief Halsey's off. I thought I saw Deputy Chief Jarnigan somewhere, but Mr. City Manager, I was at my Inglewood meeting that I have at 4 o'clock every Monday with them, and we have some traffic speeding concerns out there with the construction work that's wrapping up there. The roadways begin a little bit more narrow. The construction workers are working out there, and I have a stop sign location that I would like to take you out to perhaps Thursday on our one-on-one. We can do a little road trip and go out there and take a look at some traffic control measures out there for that. Outside of that, that's all I have tonight, Madam Mayor.
Sidewalks are beautiful.
They do look nice, and they're big and wide, and we're going to be planning up some really good third Friday walkthroughs.
And the bike racks.
Yes. Oh, yes, the bike rats.
Councilman Doherty.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Mr. City Manager, anything else this evening?
No.
We are adjourned.